Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone in the franchise world. I'm Paul Segreto, and this is Franchise Today, an exciting day at Franchise Today, as we'll be talking with Deb Evans about this weekend's Fran Camp in Nashville, which I'll also be attending and presenting at. Looking forward to it. I also have on the air right now our co-producer, Joe Caruso. Joe, how are you today?
Paul, fantastic. Nice warm day in Maryland, and the cable people here are fixing my cable and my internet and all kinds of stuff.
A good day to be doing that. Hopefully we won't lose a connection. Anyway, Joe, I've gotten a lot of comments back about last week's show with Ray Hayes. It was a absolutely phenomenal show. Of course, I always love the shows where I learn a lot as well. And Ray was just a fabulous guest. And as you know, we didn't even get through half of the topic items that we wanted to. So I definitely look forward to having Ray on a future episode of Franchise Today.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to have Ray come back. I spent a lot of time in advance of the show with Ray, and he has a wealth of knowledge on international franchising, how to launch your international program and maintain it. I mean, he's got hands-on experience, dealing with international franchisees and having to deal with different countries, different cultures, and he's got a lot of great stories about what he's experienced, and I think that are invaluable to the audience.
Well, and he definitely does, and I love the anecdotal stories that he brought to the table. There was some humor. We even talked about the Japanese mafia. I mean, it was really great, and I look forward to having him on again in the future. And talking about great guests, I know we already have a lineup just building that's going to take us through Thanksgiving. Give us a little bit of insight as to who we can expect and what some of the topics are going to be.
Well, we have a really interesting guest next week. Next week, Tom Spadia is going to be our guest. Tom was in the franchise executive ranks in franchising with a number of notable franchise brands, and he decided that he really loved franchising, but he really wanted to become a franchise lawyer. So he took time out and actually went to law school and passed the bar exam, and now he is a franchise attorney. He's going to be talking about the nuts and bolts of landlord and lender negotiations and how to set the table for franchisee success. And I think it's going to be a great show. He's got a lot of great insights. You don't get that many franchise attorneys that have hands-on franchise management experience, and I think we're going to have a terrific show with Tom.
That's awesome. I definitely look forward to it. And then who do we have the week after that?
Week after that, we have Shelley Sun, and she's going to be talking about her new book and what's going on with Bright Star and what's going on with some of the new projects that she has. So that's going to be very, very interesting, and maybe she'll tell us some of the secrets of being on Undercover Boss and how exciting that was and what it meant to her business.
And she certainly has been very active of late, very public, and I definitely look forward to talking with Shelley. I always enjoy talking with Shelley, but I am interested in learning more about her book and actually also her new website that corresponds with the book, and I think is the launch of her franchise consulting endeavor. So that should be a good show. So that's going to be actually, I think she's scheduled for the 10th.
Yeah, you're right.
She's
scheduled for November.
Who do we have on the 3rd? Right. Who do we have on the 3rd?
We have Michael Webster, franchise attorney from Toronto, who's also runs the International Association of Franchisees and Dealers, and he's going to do a summary and recap of the American Bar Association Forum on Franchising, and he'll also have some interesting stories to tell. He always does, and he's a repeat guest, and if anyone's interested in hearing some of his previous shows, you can go to the Blog Talk platform and page down for Mike Webster.
Yeah, Michael is quite an individual. He's a franchisee attorney and always sheds some tremendous perspective on things, and I'm definitely looking forward to hearing his input on the ABA. And I know one of our other former guests and close friend of Franchise Today, Lee Plave, I know is presenting at the ABA Forum, so anxious to talk to him in the future as well. And then, of course, the week before Thanksgiving, we also have a show scheduled, and who is that with?
We have Mark Fidgman, and Mark Fidgman is an HR attorney, and we have an interesting show on challenges for franchisees and franchisors. Why should you care about tattoos, Facebook, and the end of the alphabet? And it's an interesting title, and I don't want to give away any of the content of the show because it's going to be very, very thought-provoking. And some of the franchisors are saying, well, geez, I got my HR figured out and the franchisees have theirs. After you hear the show, it's going to be an eye-opener. You're going to learn a lot of things that you didn't know, and maybe you might even feel better having not ever learned, but it's going to be very, very useful information. The social media landscape, the Internet has changed the employer-employee relationship, and franchisors always have to be wary of overreaching the franchisees to their employees, and he's going to get some really solid insights on what you really need to be doing and how to mitigate any problems that may come to pass.
Well, that should be definitely interesting. I started to chuckle myself when you mentioned tattoos. When I saw yesterday they released a Barbie doll, a modern Barbie doll complete with tattoos. And so it is what it is, but it'd be interesting for sure. And, of course, talking about, special guests and talking about repeat guests, we do have on the air with us today Deb Evans. As everybody in franchising is aware, Deb is the CEO at Computer Explorer. She's a member of the International Center for Entrepreneurial Development. She holds the position, as I said, of CEO and president at Computer Explorers, which is a technology education franchise. She's also a CFE, having earned her Certified Franchise Executive designation. I love her bio from FranCamp that she's greatly influenced by author Chris Brogan, who's the author of Trust Agents, and his philosophy of using the web to build influence, improve reputation, and earn trust. And, of course, Deb is quite active on Twitter at DebCE. She's also on LinkedIn, has a passion now for Google+. I see her a lot on Facebook. And even though we only live and work a few miles away from each other, we never seem to have time to meet in person, so we have to do it via social media, which is where we met originally. And, of course, she's also the host or co-host of Social Geek Radio on Thursday nights right here on Blog Talk Radio. She's one of the promoters of FranCamp. And I welcome Deb Evans. Deb, welcome to Franchise Today.
Hello, gentlemen. As we were saying earlier, it's nice and brisk, and I think we're all doing pretty good today, aren't we?
I think so. I love the cooler weather. And, of course, we'll be going to some cooler weather, you tonight and me tomorrow, to Nashville to attend FranCamp. And I know it's going to be an exciting event. Of course, Music City is an exciting place to go to begin with. But with the lineup of speakers that we have and all the different things that we need to talk about, it should really be a tremendous event. And if you would, Deb, tell us, because I know you were involved in the very, very early stages of FranCamp, what prompted FranCamp?
Well, IFA, and I love the International Franchise Association. I love the annual conference that we go to. You and Paul, we're there all the time. We're speakers. We do roundtables. And social media has been the really hot topic for the last, let's say, 3 or 4 years. And I continue to speak and try to share what I've learned with social media, but I think what was missing at IFA was some real hands-on, smaller group presentations and workshops, and start talking to Thomas Scott, who is the CEO of Brand Journalists out of Nashville, and he was expressing the same, I don't want to say concern, but the same feelings about, wow, we're just missing that. What can we do to help IFA if we can't deliver this type of session during the IFA convention, because there's so many great sessions to go to, and it's hard to, get all those breakouts in. Why don't we jump in and see what we can do on the side? So the two of us said, well, let's do a Fran Camp, and it's similar to pod camps. So anybody that's not familiar with a pod camp, it really is a lot of folks in the new media, social networking world that are kind of geeks, or want to be geeks and want to learn more about social media, and you go to a full day session, really hands-on, fast-paced, 30-minute sessions, breakouts, discussions, to learn more. So we start talking and start putting together the Fran Camp one, and doing it in Nashville since Thomas's office is right there, and he's got access to this collab where we can do the whole day event, which is the Saturday. And then we started talking about, well, who do we know? Who do we know in the franchise industry that would deliver just awesome presentations? We've got you tagged for LinkedIn. You seem to be the LinkedIn guru, and I'm dying to hear your session because I don't utilize LinkedIn to the fullest capability. So I know I've got a lot to learn there. And then we just start plugging into the agenda of folks that we know will inspire the audience to get a little bit more involved with social media, and that have experience in franchising. Even though this is a Fran Camp and our focus is the franchise industry, it is open to other small business owners and entrepreneurs. So I don't want anybody to be afraid to attend if they're not in the franchise industry. And we have several coming that are not directly related to franchising.
I love the website is a good production. I love the statement of what Fran Camp is not, and I'll read from that. It says, if you work in the franchise industry, you know that franchise conferences are often full of vendors making pitches for services and product. Sometimes the information is helpful. It really goes into the real recipe for using social media. We want to change that, and I really think that's the emphasis, as you said, behind Fran Camp. And of course, as it goes on to say about, everyone who works in franchising, of course, is affected by social media. I mean, everybody today in small business is affected by social media. I love some of the statements and quotes that I've repeated in the past. Eric Qualman, as you are entrenched with Brogan and Trust Agent, I am equally entrenched with Eric Qualman and Socialnomics. And Eric says that social media return on investment for small business is still being in business 5 years from now. So, all the naysayers that were out there a couple of years ago saying that, oh, this is just a fad, it's for young kids, it's going to go away, we don't need that, or even put their foot in the pool and tried it and told their admin, well, you're on Facebook, just go ahead and plug some things about the company and let's see how this social media works. We know, Deb, all too well. Nothing could be further from the truth, and I think a lot of the people this weekend that attend Fran Camp, and we are looking for a very good audience, and the registrations have been very good. I think they're going to find this weekend that if they haven't been too far out in the social media pool yet, that there's so much more beyond the basics of Facebook and Twitter, and even beyond LinkedIn and video, and how it all affects SEO and blogging and content. And I mean, there's just so much out there, and it's ripe for the picking, and that's what gets me. How could any small business owners look at such a great technology, such a great tool, and really not want to embrace it as much as they possibly can, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. Now, I know preempting the event, tomorrow night there's a tweet up. Can you give us a little bit of insight on that?
Oh, yes. The tweet up will be held at Tasty Delight, and then they are just the prime example of how to use location-based marketing, and they definitely use Foursquare and have loyalty programs, and BJ Emerson will be talking about that. So they decided to host the tweet up in Franklin. It's just, I think, on the west end of Nashville at Tasty Delight, and I've attended a Tasty Delight tweet up once before, so I'll give everybody a hint. Anybody that's coming to the Tasty or ever going to a Tasty tweet up, you should practice your swirling before you go. And BJ says that's kind of cheating on my end and that I shouldn't tell everybody. But what they like to do is you get your cup, your little Tasty frozen treat cup. You go to the machine and you swirl your own Tasty treat, and the one with the best swirl wins a prize. So it's a lot of fun. You know, you get to eat great Tasty Delight. You get to practice your swirling with your dessert. And then you get to meet up with folks that you know online, but you haven't met in person, in a very informal, fun atmosphere. And if technology is our friend, we will try to Ustream a little bit of the tweet up so that anybody that's not there can actually go to the Facebook or Twitter or go to the Fran Camp Ustream channel, similar to a YouTube channel, and see us in person and eating. You know, probably not what you want to do is video people that are eating, but we're going to have some fun with it. So that's going to be the launch of the whole Fran Camp weekend.
Well, that'd be great. I'm looking forward to that. And BJ, I always look forward to hearing him speak about location-based social media. And as I've said all too often, he's the one that introduced me to Foursquare, which I've absolutely fallen in love with. And I know BJ on Saturday morning will be talking about social loyalty programs and mobile marketing, and that's going to come in right after you talk about inspiring change and engaging your company with social media. Give us a snapshot of what to expect during your session in Fran Camp.
Sure. Well, one of the things, as you were mentioning earlier, we still have some folks in franchising and maybe within our own organizations that want to take a back seat and say, you know, it is a fad, or I'm going to wait to see how everybody else does this. And you can't wait. In social technology and any type of technology, if you do not only dip your foot in those waters, but if you don't immerse yourself in social media, understand what's going on around you, that next big thing is coming, and it's going to leave you in the dust. So if you've not tried Twitter, and we obviously know that Twitter is not a fad, it didn't go away. Google Wave came and went, all right, but we tried it. We understood it. We could talk to it. But now Google Plus is here. And, you know, soon the Google Plus business pages will be available. Anybody that didn't jump on and establish their Facebook places or Facebook pages and Facebook places, you know, some of that's come and gone as well. So you've got to be involved today. And my philosophy with Computer Explorers is brand awareness. You know, we use social media to allow our customers, allow our marketplace to get a better feeling of the culture of who we are. And anyone that follows Computer Explorers and follows the corporate team knows that Laurie and Cindy and myself and Kathy and Chris and everybody that's here, we're not afraid to not only dip our foot in the water, but to really put ourselves out there. And sometimes we embarrass ourselves. Paul, you and I were just talking earlier. I'm testing out the Ustream channel. And not knowing if my video camera is on or off and forgotten that I'm still broadcasting live, I'm in my desk and I'm putting on my lipstick and checking my hair, and then I get a phone call from our franchisee who says, do you know you're still streaming live? It's like, oh, my God, no, I can turn this camera off. Those things are going to happen, and you have to be okay with it. So you've got to be daring to get out there and test it. So that's a lot of what I'm trying to inspire folks to, be okay. Let people see who you are, because they'll either like you or they won't, and those that do will be your loyal customers and your loyal followers. And you have fun while you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the fun part of it is certainly important. And enjoying it. It's a good thing that's all you were doing was putting on your lipstick.
Oh, yeah. Well, you don't want to do anything in social media that will embarrass yourself, and you've got the old saying that says, don't say anything in social media that you wouldn't put on a billboard, on the highway. Well, sometimes don't do anything in your office or in public anywhere, because everybody's got that camera in their pocket at all times, and they'll capture you. And it, that old saying, it goes viral. It really will.
Yeah, it definitely will go viral. And probably the point is more so in social media, because social media obviously can be printed out, as we know from one of our previous guests, attorney Jonathan Redgrave, a specialist in e-discovery, really gave us some almost alarming, but definitely interesting facts about e-discovery and the length of time that social media stays, which is forever. As we found out on Twitter, that the Library of Congress is archiving all Twitter, all tweets. So it was really interesting. I know, Joe, I think you're still on the air unless we lost you to cable. Joe and I talked a lot about what Jonathan had to say, and I was correct, right, Joe, in saying that the Library of Congress is archiving all tweets. Is that right?
Well, I believe Jonathan is absolutely correct. That otherwise, I don't think he would say it, since he is an expert on e-discovery. So I didn't fact check him, but I do believe him, and I think that is absolutely accurate. Yeah,
it was really quite interesting listening to Jonathan, and if anybody has an opportunity to or wants to listen to that show again, of course, it's archived on the Franchise Today platform on Blog Talk Radio, and really suggest you look at it. Deb, later on in the morning, I know Thomas Scott, the big promoter behind FranCamp and CEO of Brand Journalist, is going to be talking about the company blog. And then we lead into a break, and then we're going to be talking with Timothy Nobles about what you need to know about organic SEO to be effective. Give me a little bit of insight. I know Thomas, talked with him, discussed a lot of things online with him. Give me a little bit of insight as to what he might be talking about the company blog.
Well, we've actually been working very closely with Brand Journalists, and Thomas is someone that I've known in the franchising industry with Show Homes. He was a former principal at Show Homes, and then he always had such a good story to tell. It was funny. We were at a conference one time. It's like, Thomas, your field is brand journalism, and you're in franchising, and wouldn't you like to do that? And I don't know if I had any influence, but anyway, he decided to start Brand Journalist. Because Thomas and his team do so well at telling the story. And a lot of times, some of us, we have a story to tell, but we just can't put it in that story format, which you want to do in a blog. So I asked Thomas, why don't you work with Computer Explorers? We have great stories. My franchisees have great stories. The whole organization has great stories. Help us with putting this into blog format and putting our information on a blog or in a press release so that we're attracting the right people to read it, who our audience is. So he is just a fantastic storyteller, and that's what he wants to talk about building your blog. What kind of things do you need to share on your blog? How do you tell that story? How do you make it real? How do you talk so that it will attract your customers? And who are your customers? So I'm looking forward to listening to Thomas. And then during the roundtable sessions, one of his colleagues, Pam Coyle, will go a little bit more in depth. And that's what we're going to do with these working roundtables is during lunch, We've got 10 roundtables set up, and we're going to take all the topics that we talk about in the sessions, but let's get a little bit deeper in the roundtable, and even a smaller group, maybe 10 to 12 people at each roundtable, and ask the questions and talk about what you learned in the session, and what can you do differently. So, for example, Paul Lydier will be there from HubSpot, and he's going to be doing a roundtable session on SEO and converting leads. And he'll have his laptop and his iPad and other things. So anybody that sits at Paul's table might say, here's my website. Let's pick it apart. Or help me improve it, or what can I do differently? So it's really, that's the real hands-on nuts and bolts is during the roundtables. And we're going to get to eat some really, I'm told, excellent barbecue. And, Paul, you and I are here from Texas, and it's going to be hard for us to determine, is it better than what we get here in Texas? But it's going to be catered lunch. We're going to be working through lunch. So I hope anybody that comes is just ready to really fast-paced, lots of work, a lot to learn, take the notes, and then go home and blog about it.
Yeah, I would definitely say, leave the suits home, roll up your sleeves, and be comfortable, because it will be a fun but working day throughout. Yeah, Timothy Nobles, I know little about. Tell me a little bit about his background and what he'll be talking about.
He works closely with Thomas at the CoLab there in Nashville, and apparently, and I've not been to the lab, and I'm anxious to see it, but it's like an incubator type of office space. And Thomas has been working with Timothy, and even though Thomas will write blogs for a franchise or another organization, sometimes he'll outsource to someone else like Timothy to help him with the SEO. So that's one of the things I like about technology is there's so many pieces to it that there's so much for each one of us to know that you might have to reach out to other experts and get some help. So he's really talked a lot about what Timothy knows and about the SEO and how to get the ranking. And if anyone tells you that, hey, I can absolutely rank you, number one without SEO, they're crazy. So Timothy's going to go into the nature of, how to get that organic SEO search. So I'm anxious to sit in his session as well and take lots of notes.
Certainly that's going to be very interesting, especially as Google keeps changing the algorithms and everything that goes along with it. And we never know from one week to the next of late what's going to change. As we know, a year and a half ago with Google's real-time search initiative, it was all driven by social media content and activity. Then in July, as they were rolling out Google Plus, they pulled it back. And I know I read an article yesterday that Twitter and Google are really at odds with each other right now because of that. And so it's really interesting, and definitely you're right. Without SEO, without effective SEO and staying on top of it, day in and day out, you're not going to get the top search results. And then, of course, we lead into the latter part of the morning with one of my favorites in social media, David Murray of Regroup, and really providing that great young new age perspective. I think the world of David and what he has to say. Love listening to him, and I was honored that he participated in our recent Franchise Social Media Summit, our all-day event that was done entirely virtual back on September 21st. And if I just might mention on that, that day we had people listening in from 5 different continents. I think there was 21 different countries in addition to the United States. It was just a fabulous perspective, getting perspective from people in different countries. So, people, if you think that social media is entirely U.S.-based, nothing to be further from the truth. Some of these countries actually are more advanced than we are when it comes to, mobile marketing and using social media mobile. And I know you've been a big proponent, Deb, of QR codes. I know last year at the IFA convention you were giving out a lot of the QR codes. And if you would, tell me a little bit what David's going to be talking about with respect to QR codes.
Well, QR codes, they're changing, and you're right. I forgot all about that. At IFA last year, decided, they were. I was amazed when you're sitting in an audience and how many people would look at a QR code and say, what do I do with this? What is this? So I had some IFA QR codes made, put them on stickers, placed them on people's name badges and said, okay, here's what you do. You download a QR code reader and you take it to the Facebook page, and I think it linked everyone right to IFA's website. But QR codes are changing, and just yesterday I saw from our friend at Griffin Technology, Dave Delaney, did something so cool with a QR code. And I'd like to share it with you now, but I'm going to have to wait till afterwards with a blog post because I'm going to show it during my presentation tomorrow. But there's so many different things you can do with the QR code. You can take it to a video. We're talking about SEO and what moves you in the rankings, video, or you take a QR code and you add a coupon behind it, or you take them to your Facebook like page. Where do you want your customers to go to? You see them, once you see a QR code and you know what they are, you see them in magazines. I've seen them on trucks going by, and then, there I am trying to, okay, where's my smartphone? I need to flip that QR code and scan it and see what it does or where it takes me. But there's promotions behind it. They've just taken on a new life. Those are one of the things too that you sit back and you go, I don't know how long this is going to last, but hey, while it's here, I'm going to take advantage of it. And I'm scanning things all the time. And hey, give me my discount. I get 5% off, just like when I check in Foursquare. It says here, I've checked in, I'm the mayor, I get a discount, I get something free. We're going to share some new things that are going on with QR codes. Very possible anybody that attends Friend Camp will get maybe some chocolate with a QR code wrapper on it as part of their registration bag. And I don't know where those QR codes might take you to.
There you go. I actually saw a QR code on a billboard, which made me laugh. Because obviously there was no way of scanning that. But one way that we've been using it with one of our clients has been on the front door of a business. If somebody showed up after the business was closed, instead of having to remember a phone number or a website, that's all they have to do now is scan the QR code, and it takes them to where we want to take them. So it's great. And then we end up the morning before we start with lunch and the working roundtables with Joe Matthews, and our Franchise Performance Group, and he's going to talk about the role of social media and online content in franchise development. And I know Joe Caruso and I have talked a lot about this because of the evolution of lead generation in today's consumers and stuff. And so I'm real anxious to hear what Joe Matthews has to say about this. Joe,
Joe just attended. I'm sorry. I was going to say Joe Matthews just attended the Franchise Update show.
Right, the leadership conference, right. Mm-hmm. And I know Joe Caruso, so I cleared the Joe. Joe, I know you have some questions about using social media and online content in franchise development as well, and I know you talk to a lot of people about that. So I know you're excited to learn more about what Joe Matthews has to say. Is there any insight, Deb, that you can give us, maybe a teaser of what Joe Matthews is going to touch on?
I wish I had. I haven't seen his presentation. I know that he's definitely going to talk a little bit about, if you've not seen the white paper that he did some time ago in the book that he wrote on the sales tipping point and, how to use social media in that, in your lead generation. I think he's going to share, some of those tips with us during his presentation, because social media has to play a role in lead generation today. And most franchisors and even franchisees, when we're talking about leads, it doesn't always have to be a lead for a franchisor to get a new franchisee. To me, a lead is a customer. So my franchisees are in need of leads as well. So hopefully Joe's going to share with us some of those tips that the franchisees can take home with them, as well as the franchisors, to convert or to get those leads, and then we'll hear more of how to convert those leads into sales.
There you go. And as we're talking about, we're continuing to talk about Fran Camp, and we're at the midday mark. Tomorrow we'll have the working lunch and the round tables, as you said. We're looking forward to some great barbecue. Joe, do you have any questions at this midway point for Deb?
Well, I'm kind of curious, Deb, what kind of barbecue we're going to have.
It's called Jack's Barbecue. It's famous in Nashville, and Jack Munson is the one who suggested it, and I don't think it's named after Jack Munson, but it's Jack's Barbecue, and it's supposed to be the best. So I picture it's going to be messy, but it's going to be very delicious, and we're all going to be talking and chewing at the same time, which,
well, I'm not sure I would have picked barbecue as the centerpiece, because people are very emotional about their barbecue. And,
they're.
After living in North Carolina and living in West Georgia, I've been exposed to a lot of different kinds of barbecue, and I got to tell you, people are passionate about it, and they'll fight you pretty hard on what's good and what they think is good and what they think is not so good.
Well, now, Joe, here's what we should probably do. I should probably set up an online survey or poll during these roundtables and say, okay, let's do a poll right now and see, good barbecue, not so good barbecue.
Yeah, that would be a nice idea, or maybe using social media, talk to them about which region of the country has the best barbecue. You might have some real passions there, and then they get to name their places. And that might be a fun use of social media and really fit in with the Fran Camp theme.
Yeah, I don't know, politics, religion, barbecue. I think we might stay away from those topics.
I want to see how many people get so passionate that they start using their barbecue rib as a stylus on their iPad. That's going to be funny.
That could be.
You mentioned Jack Munson, and Jack is going to lead off the afternoon. Another person in social media I really think the world of, and Jack was our leadoff hitter for Franchise Social Media Summit. I love talking with Jack. I love having margaritas with Jack. And he's going to be talking about Twitter strategies. And here's what is really evolving as you look down this agenda, is you see strategies, and you see QR code marketing strategies. You see Twitter strategies. And I think this is going to be the eye-opener for everybody, is that before embracing any of this technology and then integrating any of this technology with others and marketing strategies, is really developing a strategy, a plan, an executable plan, looking at the resources. And Deb, going back, God, it's 2 years now, I think, or is it 2 years or 3 years? I'm not even sure. You invited me to speak at the Women's Franchise Network at ICED, the beautiful Northwest Forest campus, where your office is. And that's when I pretty much introduced my social media idea, which is explore, identify, develop, execute, and analyze. And I've used that a lot, and a lot of that has to do with strategy building and plan execution. And I think, as this entire focus is on the strategies, it's really important that people realize, you want to jump in, but know what your goal is, know what your objective is, and have a plan. And I've written a couple articles about jumping in the pool and not knowing how to swim. It's not a good feeling, but yet it's a good feeling when you hit the water. But it's not a good feeling when you're looking at the water line above your head. So I'm really interested in seeing how everybody's breaking down each of these platforms into a strategical format when everybody seems to always want to talk about, tactics. And I think this is really what's going to make Fran Camp stand out. And I know you've had Jack on Social Geek Radio and talk with him quite a bit. Jack is great. I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say.
He is a good guy, and definitely has a wonderful personality, very warm person, but very direct as well. And, going back to your discussion of strategies, that's one of the first things when you and I started talking probably 3 years ago about social media. And I know you mention this all the time, is you have to have your goals. What are your expectations? What are your strategies before you jump in and you listen and you learn and then you implement? And I do want to touch on that as soon as I open up Fran Camp on Saturday, because you do have to understand what it is you're getting involved in and then set your own expectations for yourself or your brand before you can expect anyone to follow you, whether it's your franchisees or your employees or your peers. And having a strategy, we use what we call the toolkit. I will share it with everybody, some of the things that we put together in the toolkit. What are your policies? What are your procedures? And any franchisor, any leader has to have those in place first. And then it's the next step, which you listen and you learn and then you engage and then you just get involved with it. So, and Jack uses Twitter a lot. He's got a wonderful company, Engage One-to-One, that they help folks with their different strategies and monitoring and measuring what they're doing with social media. So he definitely will be a great speaker. And he's going to moderate a table for us during the roundtable sessions on Google+. He and I will dig a little deeper and talk about Google+.
Yeah, I know both of you are very passionate about Google+. Right now, I'm one of those ones that are on the fence, sitting there observing and seeing how this all shakes out. So I'm anxious to talk more with you and Jack and learn a little bit. And then after Jack's Twitter strategies will be my LinkedIn strategy.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to talk about that because LinkedIn was basically one of my first entries into social media. And for some reason or other, I do work within LinkedIn quite well and use it where I feel it's necessary and where I feel it can be effective because, again, I'm not a believer in a one-size-fits-all strategy, but I really think where a lot of businesses in general are missing the boat is in the B2B section of using social media, and I think LinkedIn is very strong there, but also with my new personal branding for franchisees, which of course could also be expanded to personal branding for small business owners or entrepreneurs. I think that's where LinkedIn plays an even greater part in dealing with people that we do business with. People still do business with people. People still buy from people. And I think there's a branding effort that has to go alongside that's beyond the typical personal branding for career purposes, and we'll discuss some of that tomorrow as well. And you'll be seeing a lot more of that as I continue working more and more with franchisees coming down the pike as well. And then after that, we have Jennifer McDonald talk about another thing I'm very passionate about, which is creating and using online videos. I don't know Jennifer, but since she has been named to the lineup, I have communicated with her on Twitter a bit, and I like what I see. Tell us a little bit about Jennifer and what she'll be presenting.
Yeah, Jen's with Win Home Inspection. They're based out of Alabama. She actually works out of Seattle, Washington. And she caught my eye mostly because of the video blogs that she likes to post and stories that she likes to tell. But I like what she's going to do at Fran Camp. So she'll capture some video, probably from Tasty's tweet up Friday night. And she's going to have those quick clips for us to see during her session, and she's going to walk us through, all right, what do I do with this video clip that I've just taken? Look how easy it is to post it on YouTube, how easy it is to have a channel, how easy it is, and she'll remind everybody how important it is to have the tags and the description and have all of that completed so that you can really be found with your videos. So she's going to do that. And again, we're just hoping technology is really going to be our friend. Our internet's going to work. Our videos are going to work. But if not, we'll make do. Well, I'm sure we'll have some back-end things that we can do with it. But so she's going to have the real hands-on presentation. And anyone that has their video cameras, which who doesn't have a video camera in their pocket today? If you've got a smartphone, you have a video camera. If you have an iPad, you have iPad too. You have the video camera. So I envision some of us sitting right there going, okay, let me take this video real quick. Let me walk through this with Jen as she's showing me in the front. I'm sitting there, and everybody will. This is a BYOD. Bring your own device to the Fran Camp, and most people at these types of sessions usually do have their device with them, and they can walk through it and actually see. All right, hands on. This is what she did, because a lot of us are visual learners. And I visually need to see what's happening, and I need to touch it, and I need to do it myself. And you can stand there and tell me over and over and over again, but until I do it, I don't get it. So I see a lot of that interaction going on Saturday.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point about, filling out the description. It always amazes me we have so much place, so much room to put content and fill it with, keywords and tags, and people will put a one-line sentence. And, again, going back to SEO, it all helps SEO the more you put in there. And I think that's the probably one of the faults of most people venturing into social media is not using all the space, whether it be in your profiles, whether it be in descriptions, whether it be, I'm a firm believer, and I'll discuss as part of my LinkedIn strategies, SlideShare, where there's also a lot of room for description and tags, and it all works. Then we'll be taking a break, and then we'll be getting into the latter part of the afternoon, and another Social Geek Radio co-host, A.K. Stout, CEO of Saying It's Social, will be talking about Facebook strategies, and just a little bit of insight about that.
Oh, poor AK. And she said this months ago when we asked her if she wanted to talk about Facebook strategy. She said, absolutely, but I will not start my presentation until a couple of days before we go live, because Facebook is notorious for changing things, and you wake up the next morning and it's like, whoa, what happened to my stream? What is this ticker on the side, and what do I do with it? And where's my Facebook business page? And so she started her presentation yesterday because who knows what's going to change. But she's going to really help us talk about the strategies that you need to know on Facebook, and what is it, local versus national pages and Facebook pages, and, what are the kinds of tips that you need? What do you post on your Facebook page? Do you constantly post links? Again, we go back to they want to see who you are, so throw in a funny picture in there, or, tell them something about the corporate team, or something personal about, not too personal, but personal about the business, so that they can get a feel for who it is that's posting on those Facebook business pages. So she's got some fun things. She's a geek, so there'll be probably a little bit of entertainment along with it, maybe some videos. You never know, but she really is the nuts and bolts person. She's my first go-to person if I've got a Facebook issue and say, okay, I haven't a clue what I'm supposed to do here. And she knows how to go into the back end and really find. She just did a post last night, like, did you know? And she just constantly is on top of what the changes are. It's like, okay, I can sit back, and AK is eventually going to tell me what it is I need to know and how I should do it. So she's great.
Yeah, you're right. It seems like we wake up in a new world every day when it comes to Facebook. And when we have so many different people relying upon us for, direction and instruction with respect to Facebook, I know I get that all the time. I was sitting in the middle of Greg Nathan's recent franchise relations boot camps in Dallas and Denver. Franchise Today and Franchise Essentials were proud sponsors of Greg's events, and got a chance to be a little bit more actively involved in both of his boot camps. And there was questions that popped up with respect to franchise relations and social media, and specifically with Facebook, and things they were talking about had literally changed the night before. So we had to kind of educate them real quick on, well, wait a minute, that was before yesterday, this is today, here's where the change. Now that you understand it, now ask your question. And it's really a challenging world, not only with Facebook, although they seem to be one of the biggest with respect to recent changes. But it's a changing world. I know I got so enthralled with Google as they were going through Google Plus. You know, a lot of people thought that, probably outside this speaker group, a lot of people thought, okay, Google Plus, they made a change, and okay, this is a new thing. But my God, all the stuff that's going on in Google has just been overwhelming with respect to, what they did with Google Labs, what they're doing with Google Docs, what they've done with Google Places, what they're doing with Google Maps, and everything else Google. And it got to the point where I was getting overwhelmed. Myself, Jeremy Leduc, the co-founder of Franchise Social Media Summit and CEO of Elements Local. Jeremy and I do a bunch of Wednesday Wise webinars for the IFA together. We do a lot of technology stuff together. And we did a webinar, a free webinar, which was, using Google within franchising. And that was only 4 or 5 months ago, and I look back now and I say, oh, my God, how much has changed in such a short period of time. And long and the short of it was I got to the point of trying to figure out, okay, where am I putting all this information, and trying to keep it out of files and trying to keep it out of notepads and figure, okay, well, I could put it up in the cloud, and then I've got to find it. But, can I use it as a resource? And I developed a Google for Franchises Facebook page, which has been very well received. And not only is it a great place for me to store information that I can access, but also be able to share it with everybody within franchising and beyond, because every day there's got to be, 20, 30, 40 different articles coming down the pike from Google, and it's just phenomenal. And this is all just, I think the pinnacle leading towards the pinnacle of where things are going. As we wrap up the day in Nashville, there'll be 2 panels. One will be a franchisor panel on social media. What can we expect from that?
We're going to I'll be on the panel, as well as Ashley Bensendahl from Goddard Learning Centers. And what we want to do is really open it up to the audience, but we're very different. It's funny, both Ashley, Goddard School, and Computer Sports are in the same space, children's education. We're technology, they're in daycare. Well, very different uses of social media. My policies and procedures for the corporate office as well as the franchise system varies very different from what Goddard has to set up. Now, neither one of us, it's right for our systems, so it's not wrong. So what we want to do is address that and talk about the use of social media in business and how it can look very different. It's not a one-size-fits-all, as you mentioned earlier. And some of the tools and the resources that Ashley uses. I believe that we're also going to have a franchisor from Velro Mattress in Nashville. I've not met him yet, so he will have a whole different perspective as well. And then the franchisee panel is going to be set up very similar. We'll have franchisees from, I think, When Home Inspection, Computer Explorers, and I've lost track of who the other franchisee is going to be. And again, from the franchisee perspective is, how do you use it? How did you get started? What tools did you use? Do you have someone else that actually manages and monitors this for you? Do you use someone like Engage, or do you have a virtual assistant? So that everybody in the audience will know that you can follow and try to shadow someone that's using social media, but you better be very careful, because their policies and practices and procedures may not fit within your system. So this is something to learn from, and then set your own expectations, your own policies, your own procedures. What do you want to personally walk away with after Fran Camp, and how do you want to put it in place? And everybody should go home with, I'm going to give homework. I got that education blood in me, and the homework at the end of the day, and you can let everybody know, I'm going to be following you. I know who's here,
right.
And I want to see that blog post, and I want to see those tweets, and I want to see that Facebook page, and then I will give feedback, and I'll comment. Or you're going to see me on Facebook or Twitter or blogging about what you're not doing. So, it's just got to push them. Got to engage them. Got to inspire them to get out there. It's worth the effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we're coming close to the top of the hour, Joe, do you have any last questions for Deb?
Yeah, I do, Deb. What do you think the risks are for franchisors who don't take an active role in social media and incorporate it into their business? What are the risks of not doing anything or doing it kind of haphazardly?
Or doing it badly. The risk is you're not engaging your community. You're not building that brand awareness. You're not letting everybody know who you are, and you're not generating leads, either customers for your stores if you're storefront, or customers for your franchisees if it's a service provider, or new franchisees. We can't rely, personally, I believe you can't rely on print advertising anymore. I still believe in print advertising. I'm one of the franchise systems where I live next door to Quick Copy Printing, so I will never say the print's out of date, because print is still needed. But you have to be out in that social space, because most people are looking for their businesses, whether they want to find a dry cleaner or a pizza place or find someone to take, where to take my child for daycare. Where do they go today? They don't go for that Yellow Pages phone book anymore. They're hitting their smartphones, and they're hitting Google, and they're web surfing, and they want to see that, and they want to see those reviews. And if a franchisor is not out there, they don't know what's being said about themselves. We all want good reviews, but unfortunately sometimes there's going to be a review out there that's not very pleasant. How do you address that? That's something, too, that Ashley and myself and others are going to talk about is, what do you do? And that's a big fear of franchisors. We don't want to get involved because, we might do it wrong, or something might be said in a negative light about us. Well, you better, and you might do something wrong, and you might make a mistake, but know what to do with that if you accidentally post something that shouldn't have been done. One of my favorite fans on social media is Ramon de Leon with Domino's. And if we remember the Domino's story from years ago, that was really bad press. They had an employee in the back room spitting in the pizza. But look at where they've come from that mistake, because they knew about it and they saw that it was out there and it was on YouTube, and they addressed it. So companies have to be engaged. You have to know what's being said about your business.
But do you think that people are risking it by not being engaged in social media?
Absolutely, because the risk is, if you're not engaged, you don't know what's being said about yourself. Customers aren't coming through my store anymore. Did I know that my employee behind the counter was spitting in the pizza? I didn't know it, because I wasn't engaged in social media. I didn't see what was going on. I didn't see what the bad things that were being said about the company. So, yeah, I think you need to be aware and you need to be engaged, because you need to see what is being said about that organization or your competitors. It's a great way. One of the things for franchisors, it is a great way to monitor what your competitors are doing. Whether you like them or you don't like them, you want to be better than they are. Or you want to be at least as good. Well, if you're not engaged in social media and you don't know what they're doing, then you don't know how to improve.
Absolutely.
So there's a huge
Again, we're talking about, Fran Camp. Deb Evans has been my guest today on Franchise Today. Deb, I really look forward to seeing you this weekend. We're going to want to spending more time this weekend than we ever have before.
That's true. Don't forget those boots, Paul.
Despite living and working just a few miles away from each other. So I look forward to seeing you in Nashville. Again, Fran Camp is this weekend in Nashville. There's still time. Book your flight on Southwest Airlines. Flies into Nashville. get a hotel and visit with us at Fran Camp on Saturday, bright and early. And Joe, as always, it's my pleasure having you here with us, and really looking forward to the lineup that we have coming up, leading up into the Thanksgiving holiday, and I appreciate all that you do. Any parting comments, Joe? I think we're down to about 40 seconds.
We just got some great guests, talking about tattoos and franchising, talking about the law, talking about how you can deliver better negotiations for your franchisees in their leases and working with their landlords. You got to listen the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's really going to be great. And also, just to give everybody a little teaser, we've got another franchise social media summit planned down the pike, and this one's going to be franchisee-focused. So be interested in relaying information about this as we move forward. Until next week, I'm Paul Segreto, wishing you the best, the very best, in this great thing we call franchising. Franchise Today is out.
When you're part of a military family, you understand sacrifice and support. At American Public University, we honor your dedication by extending our military tuition savings to your extended family. Parents, spouses, legal partners, siblings, and dependents all qualify for APU's preferred military rate of just $250 per credit hour for undergraduate and master's level programs. American Public University. Value for the whole family. Learn more at apu.apus.edu/military.